Okay, we have power outages all over the place tonight. We're not going to have fairways online because of there's a widespread power outage in Lakewood. I hope that they're able to get me on Color Lashon Live. Gedalia, if you're hearing me, let me know. I just want to know if you're able to hear me. Okay.
Rabbi, they can also phone in directly to Zoom.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. There's another way. Somebody want to put that information on the chat?
Okay.
It's a good thing to put on the chat. You could phone into Zoom. That's what I did that night when I didn't have power. Okay, in the meantime, let's get started as we are sponsored by A.B. Spry. Nachas from his whole family by Sholem Fogel, Ili Nishmas Reb Yaakov Zev ben Reb Yehuda Aryeh, Maris Rivka bas Reb Yaakov Yosef, Maris Sivya Miriam bas Reb Gad, Reb Yosef ben Sion ben Reb Yaakov Zev. We are sponsored by Baruch Ian, Ili Nishmas Yaakov Chaim ben Abba, Esther bas Gittel, Avram ben Shmuel HaKohen, by Yaakov Umansky, for Akas HaTev to the Rav and the Zoom family, and Nachas from their children and grandchildren, by Ed Saleh from London, and Joshua Rosenberg, a virtual listener. We also have a young man over here who is challenged with disabilities, and he's in the hospital. I've just been alerted that we should daven for him. Let me see if I could get his name. Yes, I have it. Shlomo Mordechai ben Chaya Kar. Shlomo Mordechai ben Chaya Kar. He should have a refuah shalema b'sech she'achel Yisrael. We learned for our Bava Basra Daf, of course, Shimon Klein. Boy, do we miss him. Shimon Yehuda ben Gittel should have a refuah shalema b'sech she'achel Yisrael.
Name?
Sure.
Yeah, my sister just was taken to the emergency room, and they may be doing surgery tomorrow. So her name is Necha Bas Sari Yehudis.
Necha Bas Sari Yehudis. She should have a refuah shalema b'sech she'achel Yisrael.
Amen.
Is she in Chicago with you?
She is.
Okay, then you should see her have gesund. Okay, now if you remember, we said that although Marshall is not allowed to do things that make noise in the courtyard, but if he wants to be a Rebbe, that he could do, because they made widespread and sweeping rights so that there should be education from Klal Yisrael. And there was a Kohen Gadol whose name was Yeshua ben Gamla, who was responsible for really beefing up the educational system of Klal Yisrael. So interesting that sometimes it's one individual, mamish one individual, that can make a difference. Chaim, you have power? Wow.
Well, Fuchs got his internet back from the looks of it. Baruch Hashem.
Anyway.
I'm actually using the cellular network. I don't. And last night I was with a power outage here in Lakewood for about 3 hours.
So basically, we find that in our day also, in the not so recent, not so far away past, one woman, Sarah Schnerer, is responsible for the education of girls. So the Gemara says, the Amr, 2 lines from the top of Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph, as we welcome in Dr. Guy and Mark Frankel, Irving Fishbaum, Yisrael Fisher, Menachem Yamansky, Dr. Block, Yitzi Fuchs, Aaron Swade, Eddie Chazan, Marshall Castle, Shalom Fogel, Chaim Kramer, Nachman Chapler, Moshe Lehman, Berish Gesseman, Rabbi Kranz, Ilya Shutman, Abe Arbach, and Ruvain Pollack has just got in on the skin of his teeth, and here he is. And we got Gedalia Engel on now. Good. The Gemara tells us, Bram, in truth, Zachar Oisa Ish L'Taiv, he should be remembered for the good, Yeshua ben Gamla Shmai, and his name was Yeshua ben Gamla. She'il Malehu, because if it wouldn't have been for him, Nishtakach Torah Yisrael, Torah would be forgotten from Klal Yisrael. Shebetchila, initially, the education was severely restricted. If he has a father, Malamdei Torah. Now, of course, that doesn't mean everybody has a father. It means someone that has a father who himself was educated. So, Mishi Eish Loyav, Malamdei Torah. Mishi Ein Loyav, if he didn't have a father, Loyav Torah. And what was it that other people didn't take responsibility for other children? My Dorish, what did they expand? V'lemanitem osam. Now, v'lemanitem osam, you should teach them. Osam is written defective. It's written without a vav. And therefore they darshened v'lemanitem atem. You, the parents, should teach them. Hiskinu shiyamai shiva malamdei tinoikes b'Yerushalayim. They enacted that there should be school teachers in Yerushalayim. Again, my Dorish, what did they expound? Ki mitzion teitzei Torah. That Torah should emanate from Tzion. V'adayin mish yesh loyav, if he had a father and a father that had means, hayamal malamda, he would bring him up to Yerushalayim. Misha ein loyav, if he didn't have a father who had the ability, loyayayla v'lamat. So his skinu sheyimayshivim b'kol plach u'plach, they instituted that in every continent there should be schools, and they went at the age of 16 and 17. So at that age, it wasn't dependent on the father because they could go on their own. However, once they're 16 and 17, they have a mind of their own. And if the Rebbe got angry at him, they weren't malleable, they weren't compliant. Mavit by V'yotze, they rebelled and said, this is not for me. Until Yeshua ben Gamla found a formula. He came, V'tiken shiyumayeshiva malamdei tinoikes b'chol Medina, that there should be elementary school teachers in every province, and ubechol ir in every city, umachnisin aisan, and they put them in keben sheish keben sheva, at 6 if they were mature, and 7 if they were not mature. Amalei Rav Rav Shmuel Bar Shilas, and Rav said to the famous Rebbe Rav Shmuel Bar Shilas, remember Shilas is a abbreviation of Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Summit. Ad Shis, until 6, loy takbel, don't accept them. They're not yet ready for the burden. Burden is not a very good word, but they're not ready for the task at hand. Mikan ve'elach, afterwards, kabel, accept them, v'asvalei ketura, and stuff them like an ox. In other words, don't be scared to really load them up. You know, it says ben chamesh lemikra, and some learn that ben chamesh lemikra doesn't only mean chamesh, it means Tanakh. So stuff them like an ox. V'amalei Rav Rav Shmuel Bar Shilas, ki machis liyanuka, when you have to hit the child, Don't hit him very hard. Like timchei ela ba'arkasa de misana. Use the shoe strap. In other words, give him a tap. The curry, those that learn will learn. The light curry, those that don't learn, it's better lahave tzafsa lechavre. Let them be in the company of the other boys, and eventually they'll also start learning. Meisvei, echad mivnei chatzer shebikesh lasais roifei. If one of the members of the courtyard wants to be a doctor, an uman, a bloodletter, a gardi, a weaver, or a malame tinoikis, or school children, b'nei chotzer me'akvin alav. The members of the courtyard can stop it. So you see that they could stop even a malamde tinoikis. Says the Gemara, no halcha b'ma'askina b'tinoikis ta'akam. He's teaching goyish children, teach goyish children mathematics. That the members of the courtyard could stop because the children make noise. Tashma, going to arrive at the same conclusion. Tashma, shnaim sheyoshim b'chatzir, two people are dwelling in a chatzir. Ubikesh echad mehem lasais roifei, one of them wants to be a doctor, an uman, a bloodletter, a gardi, a weaver, a malame tinaikis, or a school teacher, a children teacher. Chavei roi ma'akev alav. The other colleague can, the other resident can block him. So you see that you could block even a teacher of school children. So says Gemara again, Hachanami b'tinoikis ta'akim. It's talking about somebody that teaches goyish children. Tajma, says the Gemara, Marshall has a residence in a courtyard shared with others. Harizelo yaskirenu, he's not allowed to rent space. Loyla roife, not to a doctor. V'loyla uman, not to a bloodletter. V'loyla gardi, not to a weaver. V'loyla Sefer Yehudi, not to a Jewish teacher, v'loy Sefer Armai, or a Goyish teacher. So you see that it says he's not allowed to even bring in a Jewish teacher. Says the Gemara, no, that's the superintendent of the entire town. That's the chief Rebbe of the whole town. The chief Rebbe of the whole town has children coming from all the grades and from all the yeshivas, and it's a real large noise, that they could stop. Now, let's talk more about the educational principles from this very critical time. It's important to note over here that we need to adapt to the times. There was a time in shtetl life where every father was able to teach his child. And there was a time where the mother taught her daughter Tzena Rena on her lap and gave her enough of a Jewish education. The times change, and we have people, pioneers and visionaries like Yeshua ben Gamla. And we've lived in our age. We've seen the result of visionaries. When Rameir Zlotowitz wrote the first art scroll on Megillas Esther, I remember it. He was a visionary. He changed the learning of hundreds of thousands of people. There's no question about it. And then when Eli Teitelbaum came along and made the Daf, when people were able to hear from magnificent Magidei Shiurim all over the world, right? He introduced the technology. Everything that came followed. and then there was Kalaloshin, and now TorahAnytime.com. I mean, it's what visionaries are able to do for Klal Yisrael is amazing. Now, so says the Gemara more about the institutions of Yeshua ben Gamla. Amar Rava, mitakonos Yeshua ben Gamla ve'elach lo mamtinon yenuka b'masa l'masa. We don't have a child travel from one city to another city. We don't bus to another city. Aval mebnei knishta lebnei knishta mamtinon. But from one shul to another shul, if one of the shuls are too packed, we could divert the child to another shul in the same city. However, that's only if he doesn't have to cross a river. V'imafsik nara, if he has to cross a river, like mamtinon, then we don't divert him. V'ika titura, if there's a good bridge, mamtinon. But v'ika gamla, if it's only a plank, like mamtinon, we don't divert him across the river with only a plank. Now, classes should not be too big. This was true then, and it's true now. Sometimes the classes are so big that the Rebbe can't give enough attention to each of the boys. So says the Gemara, there's different ways to learn this Gemara. V'amar Rava, sak mikrei dardikei esrin v'chamisha. The minimum in order to mandate a Rebbe is 25 children. The igi kechamshin, if there are 50 children, moisvinan trey. We insist on 2 Rebbes. The igi ka'arban, if there are 40 children, mukminon reish tuchna, we appoint an assistant. The Rebbe is the one who's responsible for the assistant, u'masayin le'mamasa, and they subsidize it from the city. V'amar Rava, hai mikre yenuka degoris. If there's a Rebbe who learns the ika achrina degoris tvei, but there's another one that covers more ground. Now we want the children to cover more ground. Loi misalkina, we don't fire the first Rebbe, because the second Rebbe, knowing that he's so good, Dilma asilis rashule, he might come to be negligent and he might not deliver. Rabdimi min Arda, Makol shechein degoris tvei, the fact that he knows that he has somebody who he replaced, who's gunning for the job, he's going to surely be on his toes, because kina seifrim terba chachma, jealousy of sages increase wisdom. He knows he has somebody who is jealous that he took the job, and therefore that'll keep him on his toes. V'amar Rava, V'amar Rava, Hani Trey Mikre Dardike, 2 school teachers. Chad Goris V'loy Dayik, one learns quickly, but he's not precise. V'chad Dayik, one is precise, but V'loy Goris, he learns very slow. Moisvina Nahu de Goris V'loy Dayik, we take the one that covers more ground. Shabesh the Memela Nafka, as they grow up, they'll learn the precision. But Rav Dimi min Arda, and who he paskin like, says, no. Girsa the Yankasa, the way a child is taught first is very important. So Rabdimi min Arda amar ma'isvinan de daik v'loy goris. We appoint the person who is precise even though he doesn't learn quickly. Shabeshta, because a mistake, kaven the all. Once it goes in, it goes in. Dichsiv, an example, a tragic example of this, is it says, Kisheshes Chadashim, 6 months, Yoshav Sham Yayav, we call Yisrael, Yayav was there with all Yisrael, Ad Hichris Kol Zachar Be'edoim, until they cut off every male in Edom. Edom is, of course, Esav, that's Amalek. Ki also the comment to David, when Yayav came before David, Amalei, he said to him, I don't understand, why did you kill only the males? My time of the Sachi, why did you spare the females? Amalei, so he says, because it says in the pasuk, Timcha es Zachar Amalek. You should wipe out the males of Amalek. Amalei, so he said to him, Va'anan zecher karinon. We read it, the memory of Amalek, not the males of Amalek. Amalei, so Yoav said, Ano zechar akirin. I was taught by my Rebbe the males. Azul shaylei l'Rabbi. He went back to his Rebbe. Amalei heich akrisin. How did you teach me? Amalei zechar, the males. Shokol safsira lemiktalei. He took out his sword to kill his Rebbe. Amalei amai, what are you doing? Amalei dichsiv arur oisem meleches Hashem remiyah. Cursed is a person who does the work of Hashem. Now, we would normally translate this deceitfully. But here, the Gemara translates it as negligently. Amalei, so the Rebbe said, Shafke lo gavra, the lake ba'ara. So let me be cursed, but don't kill me. Amalei, he says, Ksiv va'arer meineachar by medam. Cursed is one who withholds his sword from blood. And I have to take your blood. And there's actually two opinions if he killed him or not. Ikid amrei kotle, some say he killed him, v'ikid amrei loy kotle. And others say that he didn't kill him. Says the Gemara, v'amar Rava, mikre yenuka, a Rebbe, a shasla. Shasla is the one that takes care, a caretaker of vines. Tavcha, a shoichet. V'umna, there's two opinions what umna means. Either it's a bloodletter or a moil. V'soifer masa and a Rebbe. Kulan k'maisrin v'aimdininu. They're as if they're warned from before. They don't get a second chance. Klalo de Bilsa, the general principle is, Kol pseida deloy hadar, anyone who causes a loss that's irreversible, like a shoichet, like a moil, or you see like a Rebbe, because Shabesh the cave in the oil, they are Moisra v'Aymiru. They're as if they're warned from the get-go. Now, you know, it's so hot here that I feel when I'm talking, I feel the humidity. It's like it's amazing. Rav Huna, Hai bar mavoa de uke reichaya. Let's say you have, as members of the alleyway, you have the renowned marshal in the alleyway, and you also have Shelley in the alleyway. So Hai bar mavua, if Marshall put up a reichaya, a mill, v'asim bar mavoa chavrei v'kamuke gabe, and Shelley sets up another mill. So Marshall says, "Hey, hasagas gavul, what are you doing? You're taking away my customers. You're taking away my clients." Says Rav Huna, Dinu de ma'akivulve. Marshall could stop Shelley. The Amalei, he could tell him, Kaposkislei l'chiyusi, you are interfering with my livelihood. So the Gemara says that we see that there's this claim of Asagas Gavul. I remember that in my first 15 years of the Vada Rabbanim of Staten Island, all our meetings, we were busy with Hasagas Gavul Shailas. That's what we were busy about. This one wanted to open up another pizza shop. This one, that's what we were busy with Hasagas Gavul. So, Lema Messiah, the din is, let's say, in this case, Ruvain, who loves to fish. I don't know if you know that about Ruvain. I don't even know if Ruvain knows that about Ruvain. But Ruvain...
I went one time.
So Reuven loves to fish, and because I'm sure he didn't even play one-time badminton, so so he loves to fish. So Reuven loves to fish. He sets up nets, and he makes a pretty penny. Shelley wants to set up nets also. So the din is, listen to the din, Marchikim mitzudas hadog min hadog. Shelley has to distance his nets from Reuven's nets, kemole ritzas hadog, like the full range of a fish. Now, what's the full range of a fish? V'kama, amarabba baravuna ad parsa, about 2.5 miles. So Shelley, get out of Reuven's 2.5 miles. So you see this hasagas gevul says, well, you can't bring a raya from fish, because a fish, once they set their eyes on the food in Reuven's net, that's a done deal. Shani dogim the yove siyara. Once they set their eyes on the food, it's as if Reuven has them. So Shelley can't set it up in that area. Amalei Ravina Rava, Lema Rav Huna the Amar Rav Yehuda. Let's say Rav Huna, who's the champion of Marshall, right? And he says that if Marshall has his mill, then nobody could mess around with a mill nearby. He holds like Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanan, Rabbi Yehuda Aimer lo cholek chenveni kloyos ve'egoizin l'tinoikis. A storekeeper can't give out toasted grain and nuts to children, because he's taking advantage. Because of that, they'll come to him and not to the other storekeepers. Mipnei shemagila netzai. V'chachamim matirin, and the chachamim permit it. So it seems to me Rabbi Yehuda is the great defender of storekeepers. Says the Gemara, no. Afilu teim Rabbanan. Rabbanan also would protect Marshall. Ad kan like pligi Rabbanan alei the Rabbi Yehuda asam, because he said, look, that's an advertising technique. So eladam alei anok kamifligina amguzi. One storekeeper could say, I give out walnuts. I plug shveisky. You give out almonds. So each one could do their own advertising technique. Even Rabbanan would be maida that somebody else can't set up a mill. The Amalek because Marshall could say you're interfering with my livelihood. You're allowed to open up a pizza shop next to someone's pizza shop, a bathhouse next to somebody's bathhouse, and you can't stop them because each one says, look, I'm doing within my premises. You do whatever you want on your premises. So that seems to do away with the whole claim of Asagas Gavul. So the Gemara says, you're right. Tanahi. It's a machlokes Tanayim. The Tanya, Kaifim b'nei Mavaya zeh, the people of the alleyway could force Shaloi lahayish b'neihem not to bring someone else in. Loi chayet, not a tailor, v'loi burski, not a tanner, v'loi melame tinaikis, or v'loi echad mibnei baliyum niyos, or any other craft that's being practiced by one of the members of the alleyway. However, ulishchenoi eina kefeyu, but a tenant, another member of the courtyard, he can't stop. So if one person wants to sell kugel, overnight kugel, another member of the alleyway could also sell overnight kugel. If one wants to sell Romanian francs, the other one could sell Romanian francs. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says no. Even amongst the members of the alleyway, there's hasagas gevul. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel aimer af l'shchenoi kaifeyu. You could even stop your neighbor. Am Rav Huna b'rei Rabbi Yeshua. Pshitali, it's obvious to me that bar masa achrite matzi ma'akiv. If, let's say, I have a pickleball court, and somebody wants to come into my town from another town and open up a competing pickleball court, matzi ma'akiv, I could stop him. I could say, look, you're from another town, you do it in your town. Leave my town alone. But if this person also pays the skull tax of the city, so he's considered a resident of the town, then loy matzi ma'akiv, then I can't stop him. Bar mavaya denafshe loy matzi ma'akiv. This is like the Tanakama of Shimon Gamliel. A member of an alleyway cannot stop another member of the alleyway from opening up a little takeout, right? So if Marshall has a little takeout where he sells franks and pastrami, then he can't stop another member of the alleyway from doing that. That was the Tanakama of Reb Shimon Gamliel. Can Marshall stop somebody from the same town? In other words, it says that he can't stop shchenoi. The shaila is what's shchenoi? What about if he's somebody that lives 2-3 blocks down? Can he stop him? What's the din? The Gemara says, we don't know, and that's a really big question. We don't know what the din is if it's a member of the shchuna, but not the member of the alley. He said you can't stop. You can't stop a member of your own alley to open it up, but you could stop somebody else. The question is, what does someone else mean? So the Gemara says that's Tishbi Ataretz Kushis v'Yibayis. Okay, Rabbi Isai. It's interesting. I saw today Mati Eisenberger, and Mati Eisenberger told me that he listened to last cycle when I was giving this shir in Staten Island, and he said the shir took an hour and a half because I went into a whole tangent about throwing children out of yeshiva, and I went into a tangent about that the Chazon Ish says that in order to throw a child out of yeshiva, you need a bezdin of 23 because it's pikuach nefesh for the child.
I remember that too. Yeah.
You remember? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so you're catching a break tonight. That the shir was a little quicker.